welcome to Silver Sunday. It's your weekly Sunday Silverline stream. And even though my computer was doing so good, I look like I tend to be slowing down a little bit on my own camera here. So hopefully I'm going to shut it. Once I can get these things shared out, I will shut these windows off because I suspect that may be part of what's slowing me down. Tonight, we're going to talk about Kurtis's favorite subject, martial arts in comic books. But before we get started, before we even introduce everyone, I want to remind everybody that Daytona Comic Book Con is a sponsor of our Silverline streams. Daytona Comic Book Con has not gotten a date yet, but they will be somewhere between September and October. And as soon as they have a date, we will let you know when that date is. And we hope you will make your plans to be there. The other thing I need to tell you is we have about, if my tab will actually open for me, we've got about 1 hour left on the Silverline double feature, Team Beetle and Switchblade Kickstarter. Yes, my tab is open and the numbers that it's showing me is got 109 backers with $3,253 pledged. That means we're about $250 shy of the stretch goal, which is trading cards for Team Beetle and Switchblade. So we want trading cards. Apparently Wubba has a cool new design, which I haven't seen yet, but several thumbs up. So this would be the perfect time to get those debuted. So $250, you're out there. I know you are. There's a couple of you are like, I just haven't been able to pull the trigger. Look, you got 57 minutes now to pull the trigger and do that. Get that back. So get on over there. Make it happen. Get on over there. Take a peek at it. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of cool covers. Pete even did a cover, one of the covers here.
Yes, I did.
Barb, did you ink one of them?
I did. It's sold.
She did.
Yes.
The Team
Yes,
Beetle one. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying. I can't see them in front of me, so I'm like, wait a minute. I think Barb did one too. So
packaged and ready to ship out to you tomorrow.
Excellent. Yes. And so as a reminder for those of you who are like, well, you know, Kickstarters, I've been burned, blah, blah, blah. They're done. The books are finished. Both of them are completely done. John has yet to write the inside material, and I got on him yesterday. So you're saying, what's he left to do? So in our books we have,
I forget?
Not you, John Crowther. Sorry. You see, we have this little intro material. So John Crowther has yet to write that for me, but he says that will be in my inbox tomorrow. And then the only thing we need to do at that point in time, after we collect the money, is send it to the print. Now I got to do the thank you page. I have to fix up the thank you page, and then once that's done, it's ready to go to print. But you know, I'll try to send out the surveys as soon as the money gets in. You guys can fill those things out, get them back to me so that I can make sure everybody's there. And then yeah, it's off to print. And we've got fast, reliable, super good printing, and I'm pretty sure one of them may be listing right now. Kablam is who's going to print our stuff. So we've been super happy with them. They've been super good to us, so we are excited about that. So yeah, that's that. I'm sure I'll probably keep my eye on the Kickstarter here, maybe interject as we go along. But for now, let's go around and we'll introduce everybody to you. I am Roland. I am the writer of Switchblade, which is kickstarting right now. And I'm also kind of the chief wrangler, the chief cat herder here. So welcome. And we'll go in this order because this is the order I see you. So remember who you come after. We'll go Barb, Kurtis, John, Peter, Wubba, Aaron.
Okay, my name's Barb Kjellberg. I'm a longtime inker. I'm currently inking and coloring Divinity #2. There's a cover for it. And I'm the inker on Cat and Mouse. I'm coloring Sirens, and I am the CFO of Silverline. And these guys know that very well because I'm constantly bugging them. All right. Next.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Kurtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I am also the creator of the upcoming title that you can see here that I'm working on live on the screen, Shadow Ghost. And I don't always say this during the introduction, but because we're talking martial arts in comic books, I am a Kung Fu master. So that's me. So on to the next.
A master. He's a master, people.
You're just a penciler.
Yeah.
Am I next?
Yes.
Oh, crap. I get to follow a master. Well, I'm just a penciler. Hi, everybody. I'm Peter. Yes, I'm just a penciler on Silverline Team Up Champion of Miss Fury.
I still want to sell those hats, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can license them out. I'm happy to do that. What else was I? Oh, yeah, that's what I do, and that's I'm drawing issue 2 at the moment, and issue 1 is currently being inked and coloured, ready to kickstart at some point. But not a master, just a penciler. Who's next?
All right, I guess I'm next. John Martin. I am the inker for Fire Rush and Wolf Hunter. I've dabbled in a few other things, but yeah, that's about it.
That air.
Good.
Is it me?
Who's
Is it
next?
Webb or Aaron? Okay, I'll go. My name's Aaron Humphres. I am the penciler on Fire Rush. I am also doing my own comic, Godlings, which I am closing in on the end of that, which you can see on Webtoons. And then it looks like I'll be having more stuff coming from Silverline very, very soon, which I am excited about. I'm not really a master of anything per se of yet. But I am waiting for the day when Peter will find a digital background of a hole and he can draw from inside the hole.
Can we get Curtis a hat that just says master?
Master. If I can get a hat that says master of nothing in general.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of none, that's right.
I am Boba Fett, and I am the penciler on the new upcoming Cat and Mouse miniseries, and I've done a couple of covers here and there. Yeah,
Including one of the Switchblade covers.
yes, including one of the Switchblade covers. Yep. And then yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm just penciling the book. Yep.
Excellent. So before we launch in, Curtis, what are you working on there? What is everybody watching?
Oh, sure. And if you don't mind, I know some. I've been looking at the chat. So would you like me to read the chat first to kind of let everybody?
Yes, because I'm still trying to close Windows to get over there.
Okay, sure. I'll do that for now. So before we get to what I'm working on, first thing, Quentin J. Bedwell says, "Wahahaha." Sounds like an evil villain laugh, and then he says yes. So I hope that's for us. Tommy says, "Good evening, gang. Great to see y'all." And I think when Roland mentioned Kablam, Tommy said, "Printing who? Me?" And yeah, and that catches us up. So yeah, so I'm working on my comic book here. I did some kind of like rough breakdowns and loose pencils. I'm just kind of fine tuning now. So this is for the comic book Shadow Ghost, and kind of my pitch for the whole series is it's the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. So I'm kind of I've been doing Kung Fu for about 25 years. So I'm kind of trying to take a lot of that knowledge and put it into a comic book format. The philosophy, the culture, the terminology, and of course the fighting. So what you can see here, I'll just briefly go over. This is just 2 students training. But one of the things that I'm trying to do is kind of put it in more of a martial arts context. So a lot of times when you see fight scenes in comic books, they're kind of a little bit more impressionistic. You don't really see the full sequence. You see certain bits of a fight, but you don't necessarily see them in sequence. So I'm kind of trying to do that here. So just kind of a quick thing, you can kind of see here in the first part, one of the characters kicks. If you spar or do some fighting or stuff like that, usually most encounters start at the kicking range or further out range. So starts with a kick, goes to hand techniques because now the gap is bridged. And then this technique here, the person's using is actually called the bridge hand. He blocks with his hand and converts it to a grab. And then goes for an arm bar, a standing arm bar here. So that's kind of some of the stuff I'm working with. So you'll be seeing me working on that a little bit tonight.
This sounds like might be neat to have Curtis start thinking about this. So when we do the Kickstarter for it, might be neat to do a little video to go along with it to explain these moves. You know,
Oh,
as you just did, kind of like a director's cut.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really fun. I'd like that. Definitely.
Yeah, otherwise, I'm gonna sit here and go, okay, so that first panel is a Captain America kick. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
No,
you
somebody else
forgot-
will do that.
You forgot the little bubble over the kid's head that was like, "For America," and it's a Captain America kick, right?
well, back
I
when
saw
Roland
that
and I worked
video.
at Malibu, the writer of Dinosaurs for Hire, Tom Mason, he always inserted this crazy line in his comic books, and whenever anybody was killed, the guy would gasp out the words, I am slain. And he put it in every issue. It was just like every issue, like somebody's head would be cut off and the head would be rolling towards the camera, and I am slain. And it was just like, I used to love that so much.
Yeah. Tommy says we can make a live action video of the fight sequence.
Yeah, totally.
I think that would be cool.
Would that just be filming Curtis and Tommy in a parking lot, just
Yeah.
You
fighting?
Tommy getting the crap beat out of him.
and me getting arrested for assault and battery.
Yeah, that'd be a good ending. That'd be a good ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Curtis would be arrested for assault with a deadly weapon.
Exactly. Got my left and my right hand.
That's right.
Just so you guys know, there's like a couple cheesy sayings that martial arts instructors that are trying to be tough say, and it always cracks me up. The first one is, I've heard several martial arts instructors say this. They say, "I used to be afraid if somebody was going to rob me or mug me. Now I just wish they would." Which is yeah. I've heard like several people
I've
say
been
that.
mugged.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not all it's cracked up.
I
in,
won.
You know, yeah. and the other one is what's the other one? The other one is when I walk around and I talk to somebody and I'm looking at them, I'm just looking at every point that I can use to destroy them while I'm talking to them. I do that to everybody I talk to, and I go,
Sounds like posers.
yeah, what a horrible
See, I
lifestyle,
guess-
right?
They sound like posers.
Yeah, it's like even the guy at Baskin Robbins, you're trying to kill him, like.
Yeah, I'm just seeing like after he's done, like I see every point on the body. I can. Oh yeah, I want fries with that. You know?
Exactly.
Here's a little tip, you guys. When you actually are being mugged, you don't have time to think, "Oh, I'm going to strike here, and then I'm going to do a kick." No, it's just comes. And yes, I this was after I took karate, but I don't even know if it had anything to do with it. I was just naturally, I swung around and stabbed him.
Whoa.
You stabbed him.
I did.
And what is this? What's the statute of limitations on?
I mean,
stabbing
I
in
wasn't
that
expecting
area?
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
see, all right.
So I
this is-
just,
let's-
Hardcore, guys.
yeah, let's go back a little bit. All right.
Yeah,
next,
so I
all
Let's
just,
right,
rewind on this a little bit.
all right.
I just turned around and I stabbed him in the throat.
Don't mess with
and,
Midwesterners. I'm telling you.
This is years and years and years ago when I was
stamped on his balls and
first started going to San Diego Comic-Con, and
then I donned a mask and took to the streets.
something like that. Dumped the body. No, my father gave me this buck knife.
The
He's a
body.
farmer, I'm sending my daughter out into the big world out in California. And so he
Send you
gave
out
me
to stab the people.
yeah, so he
Get out
gave
there,
me
Bob, and stab.
this very large buck knife, that you unfold it, and it's pretty good size. I used to carry it around in the pocket of my jacket when I was out after dark in San Diego. I mean, because San Diego is just chock-a-block full of homeless people. And one night I was coming home late after the convention, after a party or something like that, and a homeless guy tried to grab my purse, and I had a hold of it in one hand. So he ended up swinging me around, and as he was trying to pull the purse off, and as he swung me around, I reached into my pocket, took out the knife, and I swung that at him too. He dropped.
Wow.
He did manage to shove me into the wall. I had a pretty good goose egg on my head, but he dropped the purse and he ran. So
It does sound like you're living in Gotham City.
Yeah.
That was San Diego.
yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah, so-
Same
so-
thing.
And just so everybody knows, we are not officially endorsed by San Diego Comic-Con. Just
No,
I
Tommy commented in the chat. Tommy said, as far as the live action video of him and I fighting, he says, "Oh no, Curtis, I cheat when I fight, so watch out. Well, if you cheat when you fight, then that means you're a good fighter. So that's
Street fighting.
That's
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
isn't fighting kind of all about cheating anyway? If you're fighting to win, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
Yeah.
There is
So-
no Queensberry rules when you're fighting for your life.
You talking about one of these things, Barb?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I finally got it confiscated one year on the airplane, and I don't have it anymore.
Oh no! They wouldn't let you mail it back to yourself?
Nope. I do have some bullets here though.
I accidentally had a pocket knife when I was trying to get onto the plane one time, and I just forgot about it. I just kind of carry it with me, and so I got out of line, and I had to. I mean, obviously that I couldn't do it there, but I had to get out of line, and then I mailed it to myself. I just put it back in the mail and mailed it to myself so that I wouldn't lose it. It was, it wasn't probably right here. I mean, it's not much of a pocket knife, but just the one that has sentimental meaning to me. So
I had to do the same with my Swiss Army knife I have in my purse.
Yeah.
But I got it back. But I lost my buck knife, unfortunately, and I'm sad about
so
that
good.
because my
Yeah.
father gave it to me.
Yeah. Wow. So,
Right.
all right. So, martial arts and comics. So, when we talk about martial arts and comics, what do you think? I mean, what comics do you think? Oh, wait a minute. Before we go there, Kurtis, I want, if you don't mind, take a minute to kind of explain something that you explained to me that I had no clue. Often when we talk about martial arts, we talk about, he was a white belt, a green belt, a brown belt, a black belt, but that's not traditional martial arts, right?
No, that's American
Yeah.
martial arts, I think. Most
Yeah,
of
it
Americans
is.
are doing it. Yeah.
Well, it actually kind of a brief history is that martial arts up until like post World War II, there really wasn't too much of a belt idea, and it was actually the creator of the famous practitioner of what's called Shotokan karate, Gichin Funakoshi. He was teaching karate in the Japanese college system, and he wanted to go ahead and have a way that he could show up to a class, look out at everybody, and know what part of the curriculum he knew. So he went ahead and he decided to have this belt system of colors, and that's kind of where it started from there. And then it kind of expanded out. And then nowadays, in a commercial setting, it's a big moneymaker to have belts. So what you do is you have to pay for your normal classes, and then you have to pay to test for your belt. And sometimes they'll throw in the larger the amount of belts that are in the system, the more you can charge people extra money to progress to the next piece of the curriculum.
So is that where the whole color and the stripes thing comes from then?
Yeah, the stripes, they'll put stripes. So originally it was like maybe, such and such amount of belts. But then what they started doing is, okay, you have a white belt, and then they put a black stripe on it. So that's like the 1st degree white belt, then 2 stripes.
It's this tape. It's this tape that goes
tape.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's cloth, but most places they literally get electric tape and just tie
Yep.
it on.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah. So if you watch martial arts movies, especially the old ones that have to do with Kung Fu, which is an older martial art, one of the most oldest martial arts. If you notice, when you see like the movies with the Shaolin Temple, you never see them do a belt test where the Shaolin abbot is at a card table taking donations so that the students can test for their next level. It's more of a modern thing. So, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. The way I teach, I don't do the belt system. I still don't have a white belt. I never had a belt. I just learned a curriculum, and I'm kind of judged by how well I know the curriculum. It's kind of like, all of us are artists or people that work in comic books. It's like saying, I know how to, I'm a great artist because I use a paintbrush, It's the same thing when somebody says, well, because I know karate or I know Kung Fu. And so what, So that's kind of the idea about it. But a lot of people use it in a positive way as long as it's well earned and people accomplish stuff with the belts. Yeah. How
would that affect you? Because I would guess that the belt system is, by the way, we've got another pledge. We're up to 3277. So whoever just back, thank you very much.
Nice.
How would that affect competitions? Because I know, I would assume a lot of times you compete based on your level. So if in your school you don't have belts that kind of quantify the skill, how does someone like you compete in a broader scale? How do you decide what class? I mean, it's not a weight class, I wouldn't assume.
Sure. I mean, sometimes you base it on the number of years, but really it's about the teacher being honest. Like when my guys in their tournament, I'll look and I'll say, okay, 5 years of experience, I guess, is this colored belt, or intermediate, advanced, beginner, and I'll kind of guesstimate it there, you know. On a fun note, just so you guys know, be careful of the word world champion when it comes to martial arts. This is a really fun one, which is, so what'll happen is you'll go to, we call them McDojos, which are a lot of McDojos, which if you go to a martial arts school that's more commercial and
heard that before.
Yeah,
that's where I went. I went to a McDojo.
Yeah, and oftentimes the teacher there will be a world champion, and what you'll do is when you hear they're the world champion, you'll envision them like Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport. They went off to some remote location in Southeast Asia and fought sumo wrestlers and judo practitioners, all these things. Always make sure when they're a world champion, ask where the world championship was held at, because what'll happen is, like here in Southern California, we have an area called Reseda, which is in the valley, and it's a small community. A martial arts school, maybe 3 martial arts schools will hold a tournament and call it the World Championships, but only 3 schools from Reseda are allowed to go, and whoever wins is the world champion.
Oh.
So, you know,
so it's really the Reseda champion.
Yeah, or intergalactic champion, whatever you want to call it, you know. So always buyer beware, you know.
Kasisi Harris says, howdy, y'all.
Hey, Kasisi.
Hey.
Yeah, well, I just I thank you for that, Curtis, because I thought you know that you telling me was actually the first time I ever had heard of that. I didn't realize that there was any kind of.
You've been friends with Dean all this time, and Curtis, and you didn't know before now. You
know, I just assumed Curtis might have told me before, but it's one of those things that might not have just sunk in. Dean's got a belt though, doesn't he? Doesn't Dean have a belt? I'm pretty sure Dean's got a belt. I'm sure he's in one of those.
He does. He's a black belt.
He showed a
Yeah, so
even he would know that traditionally they didn't have belts.
Yeah, but he didn't. In Dean's wisdom, he elected not to tell me that. So there, he just told me he had a black belt.
Yeah,
because he knew that would impress me. Ooh, cool! You got a black belt.
And to be clear, there's really good black belts out there. There's really not so good black belts out there. It's a mark of where they are in the curriculum. It's kind of like if you would ask a child like something like, how smart are you? And the child says, I'm 3rd grade smart. Well, not every kid in 3rd grade is smart. Not every kid in 3rd grade isn't smart. It's just where they are in the curriculum, right? So that's my take.
Are you smarter than a 5th grader?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think this is for everybody now. What do you think the most, when people think of martial arts and comic books, what do you think what comic books come to mind?
Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul, okay.
What's his name?
That was not at the top of my list.
Shang-Chi. What's his name?
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. That's what I think of.
I always think of Ninja Turtles. That's what I grew up with.
There was a Bruce Lee comic for a while.
Yeah. There was a Bruce Lee comic.
Good one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Badger.
In fact, I think I have some.
Oh yeah, the Badger.
Badger. I used to ink the Badger.
Yeah.
He was a martial artist.
Cat Mouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm drawing more street fighting than kung fu.
Well, that's okay. That's the level they're at right now, right? They're supposed to be on a journey. Martial arts is a journey, not a path.
Well,
okay, Grasshopper.
Roland's no longer allowed to do voices.
Yeah.
You guys don't know what I've got planned for us next week.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm not going to be here.
You're not, are you?
I will be in Iowa, but you have my permission to read Divinity any way you want to.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Yeah, everybody else is going like, wait, what?
I'll be in another state, unfortunately.
Well, you'll have to listen to the replay. Oh, you know what? I forgot to introduce someone. The unpaid producer here. I don't know if he's coming up on the screen. Our unpaid producer is the behind the scenes is Brett Mann is my son. So thank you, unpaid producer. Okay, well, he does not show up on the. He shows up in my ear sometimes, and that might confuse you. But Brett's the one doing all the kind of behind the scenes stuff. So thank you, Brett.
That's pretty talented to show up there.
Yeah. So all right, yeah. So that's good. So how do you think then? I mean, did we name any DC books at all?
I mean, there's Batman. I mean, if you want to go there, but other than that, is there really anything in DC?
Yeah, well, yeah, all the Bat people, aren't they? All martial artists.
All the Bat, everything on the Bat family, and was it Karate Boy or whatever from the Legion?
Oh, the Karate Kid, from the Legion.
Karate Kid. Is he actually called the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Karate Kid or Karate Boy, something like that.
Yeah. That's actually why if you watch the first Karate Kid movie, at the end, it's a special thanks to DC Comics because they let them use that character's name for their title. Yeah. So there's a Karate Kid over there.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. In fact, our friend and former DC executive Hank Canals used to tell me that was one of his favorite characters. I think.
Really?
In DC. Yeah, the Karate Kid.
Quentin said, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have let the world champion Kung Fu evangelist chop a melon on my stomach.
That's awesome.
Cassisi says, what about Deathstroke or Slade? Are they martial artists?
I thought
Deathstroke
was
the same person, but
Yeah.
Lady Shiva.
Shiva. You know, it's funny. I think about Batman, though. I don't think of martial arts. I mean, I know that he's a trained fighter, but martial arts is not what comes to mind. I don't see visually in my head. I don't see Batman moving like a Shang-Chi or a Badger, even. You know, because these guys move with very clear, or they're drawn, maybe I should say.
That's just it. There's been so many Batman artists, and not all of them are, probably most of them do not study martial arts. So I know when I worked with Mike Barron on Badger, he is he's a black belt. So he's very, very particular about making sure that all of the moves are genuine.
Barbara, you gotta put him in the right pose. Yow.
Yes.
But it sometimes matters. I mean, I know he knows martial arts, but there's sometimes they'll portray him as a martial artist, and then they'll portray him as a street fighter.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like the Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller, he was much more of just a street fighter in there than a martial artist, and it just depends. So yeah, I mean, even in the Batman versus Superman movie, when they did the big scene, we fought him in the warehouse. He was much more of just like a brute force street fighter in that scene than a martial. Yeah, it kind of matters in who's drawing him, how they kind of represent him.
I always look at the feet first, because you have to have your feet planted in a certain way when you're doing martial arts, as opposed to just street fighting.
Yeah. When it comes to
go ahead, Wubba.
I was gonna say, when it comes to like the Bat universe, the only ones I can actually like clearly think of as martial artists at all is Shiva, Ra's al Ghul, and Kane's version of Kate. I think it's Casey Kane. I don't remember her name. A version of Batgirl.
Oh yeah, yeah. The one who had the thing over her mouth. Who didn't talk.
She had complete cowl. Yeah.
I always thought she was cool looking. I always thought
she was awesome.
I don't know if they're martial artists, but was it the Court of Owls? Weren't they supposed to be like assassin martial artists?
Yeah, they were assassins, but they weren't martial artists, really.
Okay.
It's the same thing as like Prometheus. I mean, he was.
Yeah. Was he supposed to be like a master of everything or something?
Yeah, he was the reverse Batman.
Yeah, like he was like.
Yeah, he had the rich parents that died, but instead of being a good guy, he decided to be a bad guy.
That's right. Okay, I do remember him.
So, Cassisi poses an interesting question, and I'm not sure that we did that. He says, because when he mentioned Deathstroke, he says, "How have we defined martial arts? Is it any combative arts, or is it any combative arts is a martial art, or is it do we just consider Asian martial arts the standard?"
No, when I think martial arts, we're definitely throwing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga and all.
I was just going to say Krav Maga.
Yeah. You know,
I consider Krav Maga.
Yeah.
I've never even heard that. I don't even know what that is.
It's the Israeli martial art.
Yeah.
Israeli martial art. Okay.
They train like in special forces and stuff over there. Yeah.
And just kind of so the people listening know, one of the things about martial arts in general is there's a lot of crossover. I mean, that you'll see something in Krav Maga that you also see in Kung Fu, that you also see in karate, because they all come from the same source or have the same idea. That's why it's always this interesting point. As a martial arts instructor and trying to make my living teaching, most people will say you should come and learn from me because my style's the best. But the truth is there is no better style. It's like different languages, right? Different languages communicate things differently in different ways. But you can't say that German is better than French or Japanese is better than Korean as a language, right? So martial arts, there's a lot of crossover. But I think what we're talking about more is any type of discipline. Wouldn't you folks say a discipline that has a certain style to it?
A trained and taught discipline.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A stylized hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. Boy, Kasisi's on a roll.
Well, even then,
Kasisi has military training. I beg your forgiveness, Kasisi. I forget which branch, but I do know that Kasisi has military training. And he says it opened up a whole world of martial arts, a whole world of characters. Wolverine, Cyclops, they all fight at some points hand to hand. But I would, I would say, I don't. Cyclops might have been trained by Professor X, but was he trained in any kind of, how did
discipline?
Discipline, yeah, discipline.
Well, this is kind of where I go here.
He was supposed
boxing,
to have been
martial arts.
No, boxing is where I kind of go more. You're a brawler if you're a boxer, and that's not so much a martial art in that aspect. You're just a brawler.
Would you consider kickboxing in that same field?
Yeah.
Well, kickboxing is a martial art. Maybe not so much the Americanized version of it, but Muay Thai is a martial art.
That's right, because he was a Marine. That's bad, right?
Yeah.
Elektra, there's another one.
Oh yeah, Elektra.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Daredevil.
Yeah.
Iron Fist.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
Daredevil's supposed to be like his like.
He's just a boxer. Yeah.
Mandarin.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
Kasisi just said boxing is absolutely a martial art, and I kind of agree with him in that way, because it's the sweet science of pugilism, right? I mean, it is a fighting art, and especially if you go back to the early days before the Queensberry rules and things like that, it did have a different aspect to it, with how they hit and stuff like that. I definitely call boxing a martial art too.
Yeah, if you think about it, how you're planting your feet, there's a lot of moves in boxing that are like counterintuitive or against the way you would normally think.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when I really get back and think of a martial art, I mean, you're using every single bit of your body and what you're doing. Even if it's in boxing, there's not really any ways, throws or any other movements like that right there. It's just these.
Yeah.
I think it all depends. At the end of the day, all martial arts are just a method, right?
Yeah.
It's a method to getting the skill set that you want to do what you need to do. I think sometimes we get locked into the idea of styles or which is best, and it's really what's best for you, And at the end of the day, if you've ever fought or sparred, nobody is it can be spared from a butt whooping. Everybody has their bad day. There's every circumstance.
This is very true.
Yes, and an old lady with blackjack in her purse is just as dangerous at the right time, at the right place, as a mixed martial arts fighter on his worst day. You never know. So, yeah,
There you go.
it happens.
Old lady with one of these.
Right.
I've got some stories.
Yeah.
I gotta find that video, Curtis, and send it to you. There was what you were saying, like a world champion or whatever.
Yeah.
He actually fought. It was like a Vietnamese. I think it was a Vietnamese or Thai teenager, and got completely just annihilated.
Oh yeah. I mean that's why the more people brag in martial arts, the less worried I usually am. It's the quiet people I'm afraid of. You know,
Yeah.
the truth is like, for me, how good of a martial artist am I? That's for me to know, and that's for you to find out. And I'm gonna keep that to myself. You know, and it depends on the day of the week and the time. You know.
We were talking about this before we came on live. I was in karate 30 years ago, so I have forgotten everything. So I'm totally helpless now. But the one thing that I remember the most is that there's a couple of points on your body that if you can at all use them, they're the strongest parts of your body, your knee and your elbow. So if that's the only two things that you remember when you're in a fight, your knees and your elbows are your most deadly weapons.
I got a pretty
And it
hard
only
head.
takes 5 pounds of force to break the bones on the top of a foot.
Yeah.
How
Just
much?
stomp on their foot.
Did you say 5 pounds?
5 pounds of force breaks all the bones on the top of your foot.
Yep.
And a
Really?
knee
Yep.
and a knee or a foot to the crotch is great.
Yeah. 5
I
pounds.
have
That
forgotten
doesn't-
basically everything else.
That doesn't seem like very much.
It's not.
No.
A 5-year-old can break your foot.
A gallon of milk can break your foot. Trust me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've dropped stuff on my foot before, so.
So Curtis, you're outlining your stuff in pencil. It's like a
Yeah,
charcoal brush.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just like a graphite pencil, and I kind of originally laid it down just really light, you know, and so I'm just kind of trying to go in with the details now, you know, before I get to the inker.
Are you planning on inking it, or I mean, because I actually kind of like it just with the charcoal pencil.
Oh, thanks.
Just
Yeah,
out of curiosity, do you have the background? Can you turn the background layer off? I'd be curious to see what it looks like just with the that one panel, just with the pencil you have.
Yeah, like this right now.
Yeah, see that looks sharp.
Yeah, some of it is I used to do like hand drawn animation. You know? So in hand drawn animation, you have the cleanup artist, you know, who basically goes over.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of doing. It's almost like I kind of without even. This is the first time I'm thinking of. I'm kind of harkening back to the 2D animation days.
Yeah.
Without even realizing what I was doing.
You're doing everything for this comic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or is somebody else inking it or lettering it? You're doing everything for this comic, right?
Looking for an inker, you know, right now. But yeah, I'm writing and penciling, and then I wasn't really intending on lettering it, but I was trying to figure out, you know, the spacing of the panels and the scripting. So I started putting in the word balloons. So I don't know, maybe I'll end up lettering it.
I actually like that. That's kind of like the same way that Eric Larson does his books. He does like stick figures, and then he'll put all the word balloons in.
Yeah.
And then he'll go back and actually do the actual pencils.
Yeah, I was looking at a video with Klaus Janson talking about Frank Miller when he was doing Daredevil, and he showed some of Frank Miller's pencils towards the end, and he would flat out draw the whole thing, put the letters and everything, a rough version of it, before he gave it to Klaus Janson, and then Klaus would ink it and then color it. And so they had this. I think there's a certain kind of flow that you can get with that. And to be honest, this is my first full comic book, so you know I'm kind of measuring twice and cutting once. Yeah.
I put my lettering in after the fact, so I will just, instead of making room for lettering, I'll just draw the whole thing and then I'll make room for. I mentally kind of like have room in my head, but then I'll like cover up parts of the background or whatever. I don't know, but I actually like to. I do my lettering. I don't know if you've seen my Gaulian, so I do like a square box for the lettering instead of the bubble. And the only reason is I just sometimes feel the bubbles take up too much space. There's just the circular, and I just thought, the bubbles of the balloons take up so much space that I'm like, well, I'm just going to make like a square sort of box, and that takes up less space and look. So I just kind of, and also I found out that I'd like to actually bump my word balloons out of the edge of the comic, of the panels. So I kind of make like some sort of design. I started playing with that. But yeah, I know I have another friend who does all the lettering before he does the pencils. He does that too.
Wow.
So I don't know why. I don't do that. Yeah.
Well, also I remember back in the Malibu days, in the Malibu days, we would actually have the pencils first, then it goes to the letterer, and then it would finish with the inker. And so that way,
that's basically the way it always was back when.
Yeah, that's
DC and Marvel too.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time, and I was listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast, and he was saying that too. Even he was always very cognizant of the lettering and how it would actually cut down on time if you put in. So I'm trying to play around with that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing like a cityscape with 400 bazillion skyscrapers in the back, and you realized after the fact that you could have eliminated half of that.
Right.
Because
There's going to be 3 or 4 big captions on it.
Right.
Yeah.
You could have saved a ton of time.
Pete's like, oh, now you tell me.
Mhm.
I drew all those buildings. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, and we're straying a little bit, it actually saves time for both the letterer and the inker. Because if the letterer can letter directly onto the board, this goes back to old school stuff. If the letterer can letter directly onto the boards, then they don't have to worry about cutting and pasting. Because if they have to letter on inks, then they have to letter on a different sheet, take it and glue it onto the page and cut it, cut around the balloon or the caption or whatever, and then paste it, right? And that's a lot more work than
actually
lettering directly
some
onto
of
the
those were
board.
done with hot wax. And
Yes.
I have one of those. I have a waxer. I have an old waxer where I would wax and because I think I lettered a couple of issues of Badger, and I did it with hot wax machine.
Yeah, and then of course
That's old
then the inker doesn't have to ink all of that that's quote unquote under where the text on the pages or the captions and the balloons and stuff.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, and even like kind of working on Kalis as an editor, I don't think Brent will mind saying, there's a lot of back and forth between the different creators, trying to figure out how many words you can put on the page and all that. So the funny thing with doing this is, I had I'm visually what I'm trying to go with here is having smaller panels so I can put in more movements, because I'm kind of trying to lean into my strength, which is understanding the transition between martial arts movements.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I can't have big word balloons with a lot of script in it. So I have to. So, and I learned that because I'm starting to put these huge soliloquies in this, and it's like it ain't working, So So it's a fun learning experience,
Yeah, you have to, and keep in mind, Brent comes from film where they don't concern themselves too much about a physical space for letters. They just speak, right? So you can say, okay, well, you've got another 20 seconds to speak, or another minute to get in whatever dialogue you have. So and Kalis is his first comic to do, so it's the first time he's having to make that kind of that transition from film to comic. So from the visual audio to a 2D art stuff. So it's kind of fun to watch him shift gears a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So the other question, and this is actually towards martial arts comics or whatever. So what are your guys' feelings on sound effects in comics? Do you think sound effects, I mean, the funny thing is I don't put them in my stories, and I've had discussions with people, like I have a friend, Juan, who does it, and he doesn't put sound effects either. And there's some sort of weird stigma that sound effects is almost for like superhero books. So if you try to do a somewhat non-superhero book, you put sound effects, that makes it superhero-ish.
I have strong opinions on that, and that opinion is that you need sound effects. It's a part of the entertainment consumption, that if there's a laser blast going on and I just see it, does that mean it's not making any sound? And I'm not suggesting that they all go pew pew, but when something explodes, I want to hear it explodes. If I can hear them speak, why can I not hear them drop a glass and shatter it? Why can I? You're taking, in my opinion, you're removing that element of entertainment away from the reader.
See, the thing is, strangely enough, I have. Okay, I'm going to challenge you on this. Okay, I have kind of the opposite on that one a little bit. One, I think I never read sound effects. I just usually see
You do. You say you don't, but you do.
But when I see stuff, I just usually.
If you fight that, then you're lying. Because
you see your brain's still registering that sound.
Yes,
that's exactly. That's what I mean. So why, to me, it's like, why write it if the sound in the head is going to be much better?
No.
Yeah.
So but I also feel like in my book, I mean, if I'm talking about certain things in my story, and this is my own personal thing, my story. The sound effects to me take away from my story. But like other stories, like the one like Curtis is doing, I don't think that takes away from it. To me,
Well-
sound effects, it is a much lighthearted, more energetic story if you're doing sound effects. If you're trying to do something to me that is much more serious, then to me, like
Yeah, see, now you're getting comic snobbery on, you're getting all literary comic snobbery. Oh,
yeah,
my
it
comic
is.
doesn't
It
have
is.
sound
No, I
effects,
totally
and so
admit
it's
it
more
is.
highbrow than all these superhero comics with bam pals in it. Yeah, I don't buy any of that.
I think the
Well, I
old
just-
Batman series did a disservice to the whole industry
Yeah,
by
I
making
agree.
it,
I think that's
making
it.
it super campy.
Yeah.
Biff, pow, wham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think that's where I come
Yeah.
from. But
Watch
I'm
out for
just-
holes.
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I just never did put sound effects. And I asked my friend Juan. He's like, no, I don't do it either. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's pretentious.
I couldn't imagine like a Walt Simon.
Pretentious.
Couldn't imagine a Walt
I'm
Simon.
sorry, the fact that somebody
I love
can be
you, Aaron. It's
pretentious in the field of comic books. Like I'm all of a sudden I'm going to start taking out a pipe and
Listen,
stuff.
dude, I've been working in the university long enough to know. Oh yeah, it's pretentious.
Look, just because I make better comic books than anyone out in the world doesn't mean that I'm pretentious.
Whoa. Okay.
All right, so
Uh,
Kasisi has a good question here.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he says it's a question in general. What makes a good martial arts scene? With manga and anime being hot action visual medium, what do you consider a quality fight in comics? Should it be short scenes? Should you know all the movements, or leave a lot to the imagination? Oh, this will be fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
I don't know if Curtis thinks the same way
Well-
I do. When you think fight, you think it over as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean that's what they say about most fights aren't supposed to last that long. And when you talk about like two quote unquote masters fighting, it's really short. But I would say for comic books, it depends on the story, right? If you're trying to write like a character who's a deadly assassin, you don't want it to drag out forever, right? But if it's two superheroes, I mean, I want to see a long issue with a lot of fights, So
Yeah.
it really, the fight scene is like a dialogue between two people, and depending on what you're trying to express, the fight scene should serve that. So it's kind of that's my non-answer. Is what I
It
Yeah,
also
no.
can serve as a bridge because you've got to get a lot of exposition out sometimes, and to make it more interesting, you can stick it into the middle of a fight scene, so you can make it last longer, so you
Right.
can get all those word balloons in as well.
Yeah, and there's it's funny because there is this kind of a school of thought that well, these characters are fighting, and, no one's going to fight, no one's going to talk during a fight. It's like, yeah, well, no one's going to put on a Spider-Man outfit and swing across through New York City either. But and this is a conversation I have with my students a lot, is that because some of the teachers early in the program, none of who've ever been published in any remotely any kind of way, tell them that their conversations need to sound like real conversations. And when they get to me, I tell them that's the biggest load of bull hockey I've ever heard. It's like, if you ever sit in McDonald's and listen to a conversation and write it down word for word, I don't want to read that. It's just that it's not, I want to read entertainment dialogue. And that's the kind of thing that we have to remind ourselves that we're doing. We're writing entertainment dialogue. We're not writing real dialogue. That's a transcription, right? And no one wants that. So you have to remember that what you're doing is writing dialogue for entertainment, not dialogue that is real life stuff.
And besides, you
Yeah.
you can taunt during a fight anyway, and you have in
Go
in
away
some
before I taunt
cases-
you again.
in
Second time.
some
Taunt you a
cases
second time.
you're talking.
Yes.
I spit
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
I fart in your general direction.
Yeah.
It is but a flesh wound. Okay, there. It's down full circle.
But
Yeah.
that question, the question about the fight, I thought about that at the end of this issue.
Okay.
'Cause we have that fight scene before the big reveal,
Yeah.
at the last pages.
Yeah.
So I had X amount of space, so pages that they get that in, and when storyboarding that out, I had to think just to make it like an exclamation point where it's quick, hard, and just right to the point.
Yeah. I will tell you for me, from a story point, what I try to do is I look, okay, I got 22 pages to tell this story. I try to give it some roller coaster feel as well as some action. So I don't do the math. I used to try to count them and make sure I don't do that anymore. But I used to say I need about 11 pages of action and 11 pages of non-action, right? And I don't put all 11 together here and all 11 together there, but I try to go, okay, am I going to open with some action? Okay, there's 3 pages of action. Now let me get 3 pages, 2, 3, 4 pages of story build up so that I can, I've got my reader up here, and then let me bring them back down, give them some information. Let me give them some more action, right? And it's like a roller coaster. You want to keep them moving through the story. And so I try to, story-wise, I try to give some kind of balance. The other thing for me to keep into consideration, all right, there's okay, so I'm the only full writer on here. I have to keep in mind that I'm not just writing for an audience, I'm writing for an artist. And so if I write 22 pages of talking heads, the artist is going to say, well, this is the last story I draw with Roland, because that's boring. Right?
Unless that was Wally Wood. Wally Wood would be able to pull that off.
I was going to say, okay, untack the Wally Wood page off of my bulletin board.
Yes, but you don't want to do that. And so so for me, I try to think, okay, if I was the artist, what would I want to draw too? What kind of things would I want to draw in here? And I've never met an artist who wasn't realistic to know that, okay, we have to have some scenes of them sitting around talking and doing things because it's got to be a story, right? But also you want to draw them fighting and swinging and flying and, action. Those are the fun things to draw. And so I
Random chickens.
Yeah, random chickens. Yeah.
Peter wants to draw some more
fire engines. Yeah.
Fire engines.
Yeah, fire engines. Peter wants to draw some more fire engines.
It's not a comic book without fire engines.
Apparently, not without chickens either.
Well, you need chickens, yeah.
Chickens are mandatory.
I can see. I like that. I never thought of exposition in the fight. Yeah, and it's it's a thing that I think comes from kind of from a more literary because again, a lot of the people who teach in my program, a lot of them would tell them, oh, don't they're having a fight, don't have them talk. And I'm like, no, they're having a fight. They need to talk. They need to send barbs at each other. Not barb cowbirds, right? They need to jab, at each other. They need to taunt. They need to do those kind of things. And they can't just be, or they shouldn't just be random. They should be relevant to the characters and to the story and to move it forward. You don't want to waste the space. You don't want to waste the lines just for random dialogue, right?
Well, I think they're, it's kind of like a hook during the fight when they're talking. I mean, I couldn't imagine Superman or some getting smashed into a wall, and then coming out just all ripped up and everything going, ooh,
Right.
Well,
You're right.
I never I always thought, from a martial arts perspective, I would always see comic books with fight scenes and I'm like, how is this guy doing a jump kick in the air and like talking 2 paragraphs? And I was like, when I do my comic book, I'm never going to do that. And I show you exhibit A because it was like, oh my God, it's like a silent film. Like I need to put some characterization in it, and I need to throw it in. And it's like when your parents tell you something, you go, when I grow up, I'm never going to do that. I'm so beyond that. And then you find yourself saying what your parents said, So
yeah,
I concur reluctantly. So
yeah.
Well, as an avid reader, I would find it incredibly boring to have 6 pages of just fighting and nothing else. I mean, no words.
And you would read it, you would read it like this. You would read it, flip, 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 flip. I mean, you wouldn't take any time on it. And as Aaron has said before, when he hands people his comic books and they flip through them, he's like, I took hours upon hours upon hours to draw that. You flipped through it in 3 minutes,
Yeah.
Well, maybe
But
if we
strangely enough, I actually like comics that read fast. So even though it takes them really fast to do it, I'd rather them actually, because it does annoy me when people overwrite in comics. There are a lot of people
So
that
you're not a fan
overwrite.
of Chris Claremont, huh?
I was just gonna say
I
that.
am I
No
am a fan
Claremont
of Chris
Graham.
Claremont, but he is the king of overwriting to the point where I'm like, dude, is it? I mean, again, that's the old argument, show versus tell. And comic books are like the epitome of the example show versus tell. If you can show it, show it. But if you got to explain me, I mean, I've read a Star Wars comic that was just ridiculous. They actually showed like Leia and Han Solo running down a hallway, and the caption said Han Solo and Leia ran down a hallway.
Yeah, see,
That's
just,
ridiculous.
That's,
I mean,
that's
come
not
on.
that's
That
not
rem-
only bad writing. That's bad editing. Whoever edited it,
Yeah.
they should have caught that.
That
Hey,
reminds me of
It was throughout the whole comic.
that
It was
that
like the whole
reminds me
comic
of,
was that way. Yeah.
that reminds me of a discussion in an interview between Will Eisner and Neil Adams. Forgot what magazine it was. Like Blue Line Probe, I think, puts it out. It was a magazine.
Oh, Sketch Magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But Will Eisner and Neil Adams were talking about that, and they both believe that that was necessary. Whereas Neil was saying that Frank Miller, you know, didn't like putting that kind of stuff in it. The different philosophies about, saying what they're doing and showing what they're doing at the same time.
Yeah.
And they thought it was necessary?
Yeah, because sometimes you'll have an artist, a good artist, you don't have to do that with, but a bad artist, you have to put that in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I could see that if you can't tell what it is in the art. I can see having to have a caption like that if you look at it and say, I have no idea what this is or what they're doing or where I can understand that.
Yeah, it's like leading the brain of the reader. Like, okay, now I know what they're doing.
Yeah. But I think, though, I go back to editing. I think, though, if it's written in the script and the editor looks at it and sees, oh, I can clearly see that Han and Leia are running down the hallway.
Yeah.
I'm going to delete this caption because we don't need it. And maybe put a add a balloon that says that Han saying some kind of, goofy romantic thing to Leia instead,
Yeah.
I'm going to kiss you once we get out of here.
Well, I mean, one of the most famous comics out there that is the silent issue of G.I. Joe.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Snake Eyes.
Larry
and stuff.
Hama.
No words. And that's like a very famous issue. So, I mean, again, I think this is an argument made either way. More words, less words. I know I tend to enjoy comics that just, if there's overriding, I mean, if somebody's sitting there at the podium making a speech, yeah, you're going to write the speech out. But it always feels like sometimes less is more in comics. And I think it just depends on the story.
Did that story have sound effects, though?
The funny thing is I just, it's funny. You're the only, I have so many people I meet in comic books and my friends just do not like sound effects. So I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I've met people who, my friend Juan, he's like, no, I just don't use them. I don't like them. I don't know.
So
I mean, take that as you will. I mean, it's his own comic book. You can do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I try to incorporate them in my art when I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
the
think
wham in the back. I like that.
Yeah, the big.
I love that. Yeah. All right, we're counting down. We got 80 seconds left on the Kickstarter here. We're at, we're still at 110 backers at 3277. So we've made more than made. Looks like we're not going to get that stretch goal of trading cards. But still, books are done. As soon as we wrap up here, we'll be able to ship these things out.
You want the cards? The new templates look awesome.
I gotta see them. Oh, it's funny. It turned to the countdown clock. I don't guess I've ever sit there and watched the countdown clock. It turned the numbers turned red when it hit 59. Oh, we got another backer. Thank you, whoever backed it. 111. We're up to 3339. So that means I can't do the math. Somebody do the math for me. 30 seconds.
I was an A art student and an F math student, so I'm not doing no math.
I could not do math either.
Here.
I just know that it's not 35 yet. So.
Yeah, I'm a C art student and an F math student.
I wasn't an F math student, but I was a D minus. I had to pass it to get anywhere.
That's why God created calculators.
That's right. You're absolutely
Oh,
right. And before
it-
that, the abacus, right?
Yeah. No, my
All right, we're done. 111 backers with 33.39 pledged. Thank you all for
Congratulations.
backing the Team Beetle. Oh, look at the little fireworks going off and confetti. That's pretty cool. 33.39, 111 backers. Thank you all. If you are a backer and you're listening, we'll get. It takes about 2 weeks to get for Kickstarter to get us the funds. In that 2 weeks, I'm going to send you a survey. Please answer that as quickly as you possibly can because I need the name to put in the thank you page. I'm going to have the files ready to go. And actually, since we know the people at Kablam, I'll probably go ahead and send those files to them early so that they're ready. And all Kablam needs from me then is money before they print. Kablam is usually pretty good about letting me do that. So, yeah. So, thank you all very much. Let's see here. There's something else I was going to say. Quentin, okay, talking about pencils and inks. Brett, we got did you find the Wayne Hall comic review? Yeah. So everyone, we're gonna run the Wayne Hall comics review, and we'll be back in about 8 minutes. I think his review is about 8 minutes. Wayne is going to tell you about what book is it, Brett? Can you tell from the file? I think the file has the name on it. Okay. Recount. So Wayne is gonna be telling you about Recount. You should give it a listen. I've heard really good things about Recount myself. So take it away, Wayne.
Hi, this is Wayne Hall back again to talk about an indie comic that you can get at your local shop. And I've got a real timely one this week. This is The Recount. It's written by, I'm recording this in Central Florida, and the writer's name is Jonathan Hedrick, and he lives in what we call the East Coast, which means like Daytona Beach, that area. And this book it's called The Recount for a reason. In the very early stages of this book, and you can see, the President of the United States has been impeached, and he's resigning his office at the beginning. And he doesn't get too far before he is assassinated. And what's interesting is what happens from there is after the assassination takes place, the conspirators turn their sights on all who helped him get into power. By this they mean to kill everyone who helped him ascend to the presidency, including the ordinary citizens who elected him, essentially plunging the entire country into civil war. Meanwhile, the vice president, one of the few survivors of the executive branch, struggles to prevent the nation from descending into chaos. That's the description of the book as it comes out from scoutcomics.com, the company who publishes the series. It's an interesting book because it's kind of timely right now. The things that we're going through and have been going through are reflected a lot in this book. And this is the first of the series, and there'll be several more issues coming out. They come out pretty much monthly. And what's happening is, as I mentioned, the forces who are against the former president and who are against the people who actually voted for him and who helped him are basically out to eliminate that segment of the population. Now, I happen to have met Jonathan Hedrick, who writes this story, and he assures me this is not based on any political party that exists. I know it's easy to think that it might, but he actually had written the script a long time before the most recent election. And of course, you know, anybody who makes a comic knows it takes months to get a comic together and get it out so it can be printed. And that's the case with this one. The first issue, which is the one that I have right here, came out in November, and the other one is the second issue isn't far away. And it's got a lot of interesting parallels to what's happening right now. Interestingly enough, the vice president is a woman. And she's the one that's faced with all this. we come to find out that people in the Secret Service have become part of this group. They're trying to get rid of everybody. She's in the middle of trying to reassure the country when suddenly the group appears, and of course they're hidden real well. You can't see them, but they address the country while she's supposed to be on there. They interrupt the feed and say, by now you should understand how much we control. We're everywhere, it says. President Christensen is the name of the president, admitted to his crimes and was punished. Justice was served, but that was only the beginning, as it says in here. And we get to see all the different people that they're after. And this is only the first book, by the way. A lot happens in this first issue. It's really amazing what's going on in here, and the way that the people struggle to keep their identity secret and things like that. It's just an amazing, gripping story. It's mostly dramatic, although, like I said, when the president gets assassinated, there are spots of of violence that happen in the book. So it's listed on here for mature readers, so you don't want to let any of the children read this. But on the other hand, this is a book I highly recommend. It's one of those books that I think will always be, it'll kind of be a remembrance of this era, and even though it's not supposed to reflect any of the political parties and people from today, I think we'll still remember some of this stuff as we go forward. And it's just an amazing, amazing story. I mean, the concept that people would go, not only dislike the president immensely, but to go after the people who voted for him and worked with him while he was in office. That's kind of extreme. I mean, we're not seeing that in real life, thankfully. But what we're seeing is there's a lot of frustration in politics right now. And if you want to read a story of what could be, I highly recommend this book. This book is amazing. I've had a chance to read a couple of the upcoming issues, and it gets a little worse from here, shall we say. It's just an amazing, amazing book about what we might see. Not to say that it will be. It might be what we can see. And as such, maybe we as Americans will take a step back and take a deep breath and kind of change our mind as to how we're going to approach these kinds of issues. So it's such a well-written story. I think Jonathan did a superb job of putting this together and making this a story that, when he wrote it, he didn't imagine, as he told me, that all this stuff would have happened, and this would be somewhat slightly prophetic as far as the things that's going on right now. So it's one of those books that you can get it in your local shop. If you can't get your local shop, you go to scoutcomics.com and look for the store there, and they'll be glad to mail it to you. Or you can buy digital at the Scout Comics website as well. So let's get to the grades. The writing grade, I got to give an A. Jonathan's done a wonderful job of shocking us and surprising us and bringing the characters to life. Even the bad guys, I'm not entirely unsympathetic to what they're up to. So he does a great job of making everything as real as he can. And the dialogue is fantastic. The pacing moves at a great rate. I'm just convinced this is one of those books that, as time goes along, the recount is one of those books that people will point to as one that's really great from this era. The artwork is really, really good. I really like it. It's a little craggy, but on the other hand, it matches the subject matter. This is a dark bit of subject matter, of course, and there are words in this that you probably don't want young children to read. And there are situations, like I mentioned the president getting assassinated, you don't want your kids to read. But if you're an adult and you're interested in politics in the slightest, I think you're going to really enjoy what this book has to do with. The artwork, like I said, the artwork is good. Like, that's a little craggy for my likes. The face there is a little sketchy. But you know what? it's a very sketchy story as far as things go. So I would give it a solid B plus. It's really really good. The lettering I think is really good too. It doesn't most of the time it doesn't cover up the artwork. It splits things. I mean the lettering takes place in a place that lets the artwork do the storytelling as much as possible. So I'm going to give it a good solid B plus there too. Literary merit. I think that in the future, I think people are going to refer to this book a lot. I think even 20 years from now, unless some significant change happens to the American political system, I think this is one we will refer to and go, we really ought to reconsider how we're doing things or how we are discussing the other side, as it were. Because it really does bring up, in my mind, the kinds of things that we ought to consider when we deal with each other. And I hope people will do that. I think literary merit is an A. Now, fun factor, nope. If I have to give the fun factor, there's a little dark humor in here, very little. But I would give it a C when it comes to fun factor. It's really dark. Overall grade, I would have to give this an A, almost an A plus. It's so well put together. It's one of those books that I think this is where the comics experience really excels. This is what the medium is all about. So if you want to get a really interesting book having to do with politics and that has some take on what's going on right now in particular, The Recount is the book that for you. I really highly recommend this book. Now's the time to get on board too, because the second issue I don't think has come out yet. So let your store know you want to get The Recount from Scout Comics. And until next time, keep reading your comics.
Hey, thank you, Wayne, and welcome back to Silver Sunday on this January 31st, the last day of the first month of 2021. Can you believe we've already made it through 1 month in 21 already?
And we're still alive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So thank you, Wayne Hall, for that review. Hopefully you guys will go out and check it out, The Recount. Wayne's a big promoter of independent comics, and we appreciate Wayne here. He's a friend and promoter of Silverline as well, and so he's promoting a lot of other stuff here that we hope that you will go out and check out. Also want to say another shout out, since it's the top of the hour, to Daytona Beach Comic Con as one of our sponsors. We are very much looking forward to them picking a date this year, sometime in September or October, and looking forward to being there. Since I've thought about it, since thinking about the Daytona, Brent Larson and I will be guests at a brand new show in Orlando called OLO. Excuse me. I'm not sure what OLO stands for, other than it's the Orlando Comic Con. But he and I will both be there on March the 28th. So if you're in the Orlando area, make your plans to show up as a one-day show. And it's going to be held in the downtown, I think it's the fairgrounds near downtown Orlando. So smack dab in the middle of the city. And if you're visiting from, out of town, or maybe even like out of country, you can always make your plans to go see Mickey Mouse the day before, the day after, because we're not far from the House of Mouse. So, okay. So Kasisi asked us, do you know what the next Kickstarter is? And the answer to that is no. I know when it is, but I'm not sure what it is yet, Kasisi. We've got a couple of books that are this close to being finished. And as soon as those can kind of reach that finish point, or once they get close enough where I'm like, okay, yeah, they'll be done in time, then we'll know. But we've got several that are going to come along around the same time. And so we've already got the dates set for March. I don't have them in front of me, but we do have them set. Well, you know what? I think I can probably open up a calendar without crashing my computer. But we've actually got the date set for the rest of the year, so we know when they're going to go. We've got 6 of them. We got 5 more left for 21. We planned 6 for the year, and it's taken this long for my calendar to open, y'all. It just it continues to annoy me. All right, so let's get to February. Come on, computer. Get to February. Nope. Oh, there we go. There's February. I know. There's March. Yes, we're in March. Come up. Nothing showing up yet on my calendar. I think it's going to, but we're going to stick with the shorter window. I can't remember if this was 17 or 19. So the next one starts on March the 11th and will end on March the 28th. The same day, I will be at Brent and I will be at the Orlando comic show. So I may have to, Curtis, ask you to. I should be home, but I may have to ask you to plan to grab the steering wheel on that day.
Okay. I'll try not to run it into the ground.
It's fairly local, so it shouldn't be. I shouldn't be, super late, but we'll just have to see yet. So no, CC, I don't know exactly what, but I will tell you, yeah, we've got several that are really close. In fact, one of those is Divinity #2, which is what Barb is coloring on right now. And Barb, what page are you on right there?
This is page 11. I'm working on 11, 12, and 13 at the same time. You can see we have a little night scene here.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, that looks great. I love that color hold.
Oh, I did too. I was just sitting there thinking, man, I really like that.
Yeah, that just seems.
Yeah, I have a tendency to use it in glass a lot, like right here.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah,
really good. Mode. And Barb, what software are you using?
I am using Procreate because it is like Photoshop for Dummies, which I've only been doing this for a year. I've only been working with digital art, period, for a year.
Yeah.
So I've learned digital inking and digital coloring in this last year.
Nice. Yeah.
So I never was very smart when it came to like Photoshop. I couldn't figure it out. But this anybody can do. It's $9.95, a $9.95 app on iPad. That's it.
That's a steal of a deal too.
It is.
Yeah. And Curtis, is that what you were using as well?
I use Clip Studio.
Clip Studio,
Yeah.
which used to be Manga Studio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was always both.
Oh.
I forget. There was a company that was licensing it here in the States, and they lost their license and went back to the original company.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think I remember buying several years ago. Clip Studio had a sale. It was like $20 for maybe Clip Studio 5, something like that. I think I got it and downloaded it and got it, and then it just never used it. It must have had to have been more than 5 years ago. It had to have been closer to 10 years ago, probably when I was first trying to kind of teach myself how to letter digitally. So, yeah. So, okay. Kickstarter is over, which is kind of how we, because Cece got us on the topic there of the next Kickstarters. But so Sirens is one of them. Twilight Grim 2 is one. I think we're pretty, we're with the home stretch on the Silverline Team Up. What else? White home stretch on White Devil. So Friar Rush. Yep. So there's a handful of them that are kind of like it's kind of like one of these marathons when you're just kind of watching everybody come around that last lap. You're just kind of like, okay, who's gonna come in first? Who's gonna come in second? And we're just kind of eyeing them. So have no fear though. It's going to be a fun 2021. It's going to be a lot of fun stuff. So going to be a lot of good looking books to get out in your hands. So I'm excited about that.
Definitely.
Back to martial arts. Let's see here. Was there any questions here? Quentin says, I have to do super rough pencils, letters, balloons, and then this goes back to when you guys were talking about how you did the pencils and the under penciling and stuff like that, which I think is a lot like, I know I've seen, traditionally, I've seen a lot of pencilers take a very light pencil and just put really, really loose gestures kind of quote unquote underneath it. I know Mitch Bird used to use a blue pencil a lot. Now, for everything I understand, inkers hated that because the blue pencil had a very waxy, and if you're trying to ink it, the wax just kind of knocked the ink right off. So
it doesn't hold. It doesn't cling.
Right. So I don't know if this goes back to the late 80s. So I don't know if Mitch still does that or not. I remember him doing that. And it was always really just very light, just really, really light blues underneath it. And then he would kind of come then over with a pencil and then tighten that up. So yeah. And Quentin says he uses a Smith Micro.
Smith Micro was the company that had a
gotcha.
manga at first.
Gotcha. So so I kind of like to go back to the Cassisi question though, is what do you consider a quality fight in comics? And he mentions short scenes, show all the movements, leave a lot to the imagination, and we kind of talked about length a little bit, but let's talk about what about some of the movements? Do you think it's necessary that we see every single fight movement in a fight like that? That was quick.
I think it's
not drawing every single fight move.
That's what I'm going for, but I'm trying to do something a little different, and I have a different level of expertise. I was just looking at Robert Kirkman's Firepower, which is a martial arts comic book, and I don't know who the penciler is. And if you, from a martial arts perspective, when you look at the fights, make no sense.
That's Chris Stanley, isn't it?
Yeah, the fights make no sense, but they feel amazing, and they read well, they track well, and I think as long as the point gets across, yeah.
Oh yeah, Pete's got them. Hell yeah. Visual references. So hold on there. So when you say the fights make no sense, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean there's no continuity.
Okay.
There's no continuity. It's kind of like, and this is me, of course, I'm picky because of my other background, but as a martial artist, I always like a good fight scene to a good conversation, So there's no context in the sense that things don't necessarily lead to the next thing. It's like you're getting for me personally, it's like a phone conversation where it keeps breaking up and I'm giving every fourth or third word of the sentence. But that's me as a martial artist. But for the average person, what's important is it feels well, it travels well, it gets the point across,
Yeah.
So I think it differs in opinion, but the medium is so different than, that's what I'm learning. By trying to do every move in my comic book, the fight scenes would actually in real life be very short.
Yeah.
Because it's not film,
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons that I'm so big on. I know that there's some who just start on their story, especially if they're doing it all on their own. They just start drawing, right? And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine if you just do it on your own and you don't really care how long it is. You don't really care, page count and all that kind of stuff. But if you're trying to fit something into, a kind of a set parameter, if it's 22 pages, then you need a plot. You need to outline it. You need to say, okay, this is what's going to happen. I need to make sure I accomplish this, by roughly this page, this by this page, this by this page. Then when you realize, okay, I've got 3 pages for my fight to occur, as Pete said, you can't show every single smack, right? It's just, or it's going to be a really short fight. Smack, 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 smack. Okay, I win, right?
I tried bringing in some continuity when on the first action scenes that I was drawing, and then I was like looking at it and like, this is not as powerful as I wanted. So on the second one, I just went for all power.
Yeah.
I just threw the continuity of the fight out. It's all power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think you part, there's a great part of Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics when he talks about the gutters. And I think that sometimes in a lot of modern comics, I don't think they're aware of what the gutters are capable of. And they probably haven't read Scott McCloud. They probably, I mean, I'm just guessing this. I don't know, but I think that there's this idea that I need to show every single little movement, and you really don't, because the reader understands that there is a gutter there, and this is a snapshot of what happens in this panel, and then this is in this moment, and then this is a snapshot of what happens in this moment. And there are different transitions from panel to panel. There's the action to action, moment to moment, kind of things, and the reader can go with that, and so that you don't have to show everything. And this is where the combination of word and art is important.
Yeah. But I think the whole like our generation was trained with the gutters, so we took full advantage of that knowledge already in the 90s when we got rid of them. Like completely got rid of them. It was just all flowing out. We just knew that there was supposed to be a gutter there. There was a time.
Yeah.
But now they've gotten back to using the gutters again.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple different ideas kind of behind this. One of the things, as we talk about, and this is straying from martial arts now, but one of the things we kind of talk about it, if we look at our comics, the things that we're doing now, and we want to take them online, the gutters and panels are important, because how do I take? Okay, I love Dean. Dean knows this, right? But there's
Dean doesn't always use his gutters.
No, but see, and here's a problem that the problem this presents in our modern let's go digital world is how do I take this page right here and break it up into segments to put it on Webtoons? I can't. It's impossible. I can't do it right now. This page over here, I might be able to do it because it has panels. I'm sorry, I can't. I know this is not really very clear, but this page right here, it's impossible to do, because there's no real gutters there to break up what's happening. So
but it makes for beautiful books.
It does. It's a very beautiful page. But I don't have any problem with that. My only problem ever comes when it's like, okay, does this serve the reader, and can what you're doing, does it still move the reader through and pull them into the story?
I think Dean's a good example, since we're talking about it. He's a very good example of someone that can break the rules with the gutters and stuff, and the page is still gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, I think the gutters are also an extension of negative space, right?
Yeah.
So and the thing too is kind of liking into martial arts. If like in the Asian traditions, there's the sound of Om. If you ever hear people meditating, Om. It's supposed to be the sound of creation, because it basically encompasses all vowels, and then the consonants are found in the space between the times you say it. So it's the absence of sound and sound that creates the existence of the universe, is the idea, right?
That's cool.
And so, yeah, it is. But you see that in Japanese, like ukiyo-e prints and things like that. I mean, really great comic books like Frank Miller's Sin City stuff is a perfect example of that idea of leaving those empty spaces,
Yeah.
And you see that with the gutters too. People that are really at their optimum level know how to work it. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. What about I'm sorry, Wubba, go ahead.
I was going to say, that was really well done, Curtis. You just married our conversation about sound effects, gutters, and martial arts all into one thing.
Well, just so you guys know, I've been rehearsing that for months, and this was the perfect time to use it, so just so you know.
What we don't know is Curtis has all these one-liners taped right up here, right? It's ever since we talked about martial arts, he's like, okay, I gotta get that, right? All these
exactly. You know it. I got my spreadsheets out. and real quick, I have to give a shout out to my wife for our martial arts comic night. She got me from the Asian grocery store Dragon Ball, Vegeta, Citrus Rider.
Cool.
So big ups to the wife. But we're talking about martial arts comics, Dragon Ball. Wow, that's the perfect martial arts superhero comic book.
See, I get those cans and I don't even drink them. They just sit around because I like the art.
Right? They're crazy. They're insane.
Cameron Christopher Payne says it's supposed to help vibrate at the frequency of the sun.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. In fact, the martial art that I do, and karate has some styles, but the highest level sequence of movements you do, you don't like to perform it because it looks weird, but when you're doing different moves, you actually put in different intonations, so different gasps, different vibrations of sound, and that actually vibrates your organs and amplifies your health aspects, but it also amplifies your strike. So if you understand the higher level of martial arts, when you hit somebody, you don't hit them once with one strike. You vibrate when you hit them like a jackhammer. So the goal is to marry the vocal range and the strike at the same time so that they vibrate. So when you hit somebody, it shatters their skull or shatters their bones, right? So you actually want to vibrate like a jackhammer. And then from there, this is getting really out there, but then the impact can go into the organs of the person. So all these things are I mean, it's crazy stuff, you know.
Well, now that's kind of interesting because I think what a lot of people don't realize when you talk about the medieval, traditional European, and Pete needs to probably chime in here, traditional European warfares, they had I used to always wonder, why do they get these great old big clubs and these great old big hammers? But that's because if you hit someone with a big hammer who's in a suit of armor, it vibrates and shakes their internal organs loose. I mean, that was the whole purpose of that, because you can't take,
or
that
it
hammer
crushes the armor too and does damage that way.
It can, but sometimes that armor could withstand a blow.
The idea that they would cut limbs and things off is a Hollywood thing.
Right.
Swords wouldn't cut through; they would just crush your limbs, and you'd never be able to, because they didn't have doctors. You'll never use your arm again; it would just wither and die. So, and their organs would be crushed, and you'd die of internal bleeding.
Yeah. I think it was something actually Walt Simonson posted several years ago that when I learned that and I realized that, or maybe he may have posted something about Mythbusters. Mythbusters might have done an episode about the big hammers in medieval warfare, because I seem to remember those two guys going at it. And they had Jello inside a armor or something like that. I can't remember now, but
that's also why, like, a lot of sword strikes, a lot of them are at diagonals, right? So because you're going for where the openings on the armor are, where it's unprotected, And in the Kung Fu tradition, like when you have a broadsword, it's like a huge weapon. When you cut, as you finish cutting, you strike with the palm, right? As you're drawing the blade, because what happens is the blade gets lodged in the person's chest. You have to, if you just try and pull that out, it's stuck in there. So you have to hit them and pull the blade off at the same time to finish the strike. So when you see them do this motion, that's the reason why you have those two moves.
It's to pull the blade out.
Really nasty stuff.
Yeah, because it creates suction when you run somebody through and you go to try to pull it back out. It creates suction.
Yeah. So pulling.
That was another reason they started putting blood grooves into some of the swords. That way there wouldn't be that suction. You could just go in and come back out clean. So.
Yeah, and the bayonets that I don't know when and where they came around, but the bayonet that they used in the American Civil War was a triangle, more or less.
That's because it do a lot of damage.
Well, what they would do is they would stick it in and turn it, and that's where the damage comes from. And then it was easier to remove because
even with a triangle blade, you can't repair that wound.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't know. So, I don't know how we got with that. Cameron Christopher Payne said, use your foot.
Things to put in comics, triangle bayonets, and use broadswords with a strike.
Cameron Christopher Payne said, the body is 70% water, vibration. And he says, use your foot to remove the sword. And then he says the wound won't close when you're talking about the diamonds, the triangles. I'm sorry.
He's talking about the body being composed of mostly water. So if you've ever heard about what in martial arts we call chi, or in Japanese arts they call ki, right? Which sometimes people liken to the force, so they go, oh, that's out there stuff. It's kind of esoteric. what it is you notice all those exercises have to do with breath. And since your body's composed of mainly water and you do these highly oxygenated exercises, the water and the air combine and create a bioelectric charge, right? So the chi and ki and all that is the bioelectricity in your body that you're actually charging up is the idea. So whenever you hear about that stuff, it has some interesting basis in reality.
You think that's where the origin of Iron Fist might have come from?
Yeah, actually there is a real Kunlun. I don't know if you guys know that. There's a Kunlun mountain range in China.
Oh.
So when you look at the ancient Kung Fu traditions, there's several mountains that are known for having great martial arts. There's Shaolin, right, where we all see, and then it's called Wudong, but we know it as Wu-Tang, but Wudong, right? Wudong mountain range where the Taoists are, and then there was another mountain range called Kunlun, and it still exists today, and they still practice martial arts there. Huh. So I don't know I can't remember who created Iron Fist, but they must have been watching Kung Fu movies because Kunlun's a real place. With real martial arts.
Is this where you're going to tell us you're the Iron Fist, Kurtis?
No.
Have you fought the dragons lately?
Yeah. The only thing I'm known as is the Rage in Eurasian. That's the name that I take.
Did Carl Potts? No, I don't think Carl Potts created Iron Fist.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think Carl was around yet. I'm thinking it was Mackenzie. Roy Thomas and Gil Kane.
Yeah. And
of course,
Kunlun is actually Kunlun's known for their swordsmanship. They're known for being swordsmen. Actually, is what they're really known for. But yeah,
I just automatically think Carl Potts because the Iron Fist and Power Man book.
Oh yeah, that was such a great series.
Yeah. Tommy says you guys know too much about stabbing people.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tommy.
Yeah.
What happens when you get sit behind a desk all day long?
Yeah.
Weird things.
Or when you have to bounce for a living.
Yeah.
So we talked about some martial arts that they like and some that are good. Can you think of any instances of comic books in which the martial arts were just terrible and you look? Go ahead, Kurtis.
All right.
Curtis has a list.
Yeah, Kurtis is like, where should I start?
Basically, every time the guy looks like they think that if you're in the pose where you're doing the robot, when you're this is not martial arts, right? When it looks like somebody's asking how big the fish is that you caught, and this is your fighting stance, my fish was this big, this isn't martial arts. And I'll leave it at that, okay? This is not martial arts.
I always see these, right? These.
You know what those are, right? I don't know if you guys know when you see all these gestures, you hear about the mantis, the crane, the tiger, right? The gesture is the idea of having like a Swiss Army knife. Like if I'm going to hit somebody in the eye, you have to get inside the eye socket. You have to switch the gesture to this because this fits in the eye socket, right? Or this fits in between the ribs, or this hits the jaw. So you're trying to switch the gestures on the fly when you're striking so you can get the maximum amount of effect. And the fascinating thing too is most people don't know is the gesture of the hand affects the musculature of the forearm. So if like my arm's pressed up against somebody else's arm and I want to push them off, I can push them off by keeping my arm folded this way, and just pushing my wrist back like this will activate all the muscles here, right? So when you see all those gestures, and the funny thing is they're kind of made fun of because they have funny names, right? Tiger claw, crane's beak. If you look at MMA, right? MMA has a lot of moves that would also be funny. Like they have something called the Superman punch, where they run and it looks like they're going to kick and they hop up and they punch.
Oh yeah.
But it looks like Superman, right? So what's going to happen?
Question mark kick.
Yeah. So centuries from now, somebody's going to uncover the ancient art of MMA, and they're going to be teaching this special move called the Superman punch. And people are going to go, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. What is a Superman punch? And they're going to say, well, back in the day, there was this art form called comic books, and there was this deity named Superman, and so forth. It's all the context, right? Yeah.
And he trained in this. What's Superman's?
Metropolis.
No, what's his
Fortress of Solitude.
Thank you. There's this Fortress of Solitude that no one could get to. Yeah.
Take away his 40s DVD.
So how about the pose where they're flying through the air and their one leg is way out?
Yeah.
You always see them like.
I just drew
Always.
that page. I just drew that post.
I'm drawing that page next.
Peter's like,
Yeah.
hey, that sounds fun.
Hey, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
No joke, I'm doing that next page.
I just did that. I just did that.
Because I'll tell you why.
that.
That's because that's martial arts, right? And that's what people want to. That's what
That's
people
how
want
you
to see
get
in
out
their
of a
martial
hole.
arts.
Yeah.
Curtis, how many times have you flown through the air kicking people?
Never.
Call yourself a master.
Well,
I know.
here's the, if you want to know some of the funny rules of martial arts, right? Like fighting is 3 rules, right? 1, if they're tall, hit them low. If they're short, hit them high. And if you can't beat them in 3 moves, run away. Right? Right? And then the other one is we love
Yeah,
in
really.
movies. You kick the guy to the head, right? But if my goal is to hit your head, and I bring my foot up, then if I want to hit your foot, would I bend over and punch your foot, right? So usually for realistic martial arts in the beginning, you don't want to throw your kick up high. When you get good, you can, but generally speaking, you just keep it up there. But yeah, the flying sidekick is very popular.
Yes, in comic books, yeah.
Flying
Because it
sidekick,
looks so
yeah.
cool.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Is it practical?
When you
I used to ask my teacher all the time for like concrete rules. I would say, he would show me a maneuver and I'd say, okay, well, so every time I get in a fight, when this scenario pops up, I can use this. And he would always say to me, I don't know, you tell me. And it would tick me off because I would go, no, you are the master, you tell me. And what it boils down to is there is no absolutes in fighting, right? So what works in this one fight on this day may not work tomorrow. And real fighters know that there are no absolutes. Right. So that's kind of the key. It really depends on the situation. I haven't done it. But.
Well, and I think, Tommy kind of alluded to it earlier. He said you didn't want to fight him because he cheats.
Well, the fighting is cheating. I mean, there is no such thing as a fair fight. Like my teacher taught me to step on the guy's foot so he can't run away and you can punch him. Right. and I mean, legit, And when I was teaching one of my students, and they said, that's not fair. That's not in the rules. And I said, we do not do martial arts to have a fair advantage over somebody. We do martial arts to have an unfair advantage over somebody. That's the whole point. One of the
have you seen all the bell ringing strikes? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean there, bell ringing?
I don't.
Yeah.
But that made me think of
the privates, the private punch.
Oh yeah.
That made me think of seeing that movie Major Payne.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he tells the dude he's gonna like kick him upside the head, and then he kicks him in the knee when he drops. He's like, I thought you were gonna kick me in the head. He goes, you call me a liar? And then he kicks him in the head.
If you guys want to hear what the most nastiest weapon I've ever heard of in martial arts, it's dark, but it's fascinating. Okay, and this is one of the nastiest ones. And I'm not authorizing anybody to do this. But,
don't do this at home, kids.
Yeah, what some of the people will do is you get in the Philippines they'll do this. You get sand, right, and you soak it in chili oil. All right.
Oh yeah.
And then if you're wearing a shirt with a breast pocket, you keep the chili oil sand in your breast pocket. And when the fight starts, you throw the sand in the guy's eyes. Now he'll be blinded, but his eyes will start to burn, and he'll rub his eyes and tear his cornea relentlessly because of the sand in the eyes. And it doesn't cost much, and that's fighting. That's a
What I got from that.
But don't do that.
Don't do that. That's bad.
Don't do that.
What I got from that.
You're gonna blind somebody.
Wait.
Why are all the people in the Philippines walking around with sand in their pockets?
Oh, that's not all they walk around with there.
What's going on out there?
If you look at the Philippine culture, like their history, I mean, they've got some of the largest machetes I have ever seen, ever. I mean, massive machetes.
Yeah,
and those are in their pockets.
They carry them around. Yeah.
Yeah, they're holding them.
It's in their pocket, just pulling huge machetes out of their pocket. It's amazing how it fits in there.
Yeah, when they duel in knife fights, the Filipino martial arts, the escrimadores, right, would have this cool pose for a death match. Is that when they hold knives or sticks, they point one up and they point one down before the fight starts. And what that means is, I'm going to send you to heaven, or I'm going to send you to hell, but you're going one of these two places. And that's how the fight starts. So when they fight, they flip it up and down, and that means it's a death match. It's like, wow, that's crazy, right?
Tommy says, if I have to fight, which I don't, I want to win. So I'm going to cheat to win.
So he's gonna have
Cheating is
chili
just being smart.
sand. Watch out, Curtis.
Yeah, chili sand.
Tommy's gonna have chili sand now.
Yeah.
My father always used to tell me, he says, don't ever start a fight, but if you do, you better damn well finish it.
Well, I was always told not to start it, but to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cameron Christopher Payne says, question, what's your best weapon and it's not your mind? He says, you can't say your mind is your best weapon. So what's your best weapon?
I would say the best weapon is being humble. Because if you don't think that you're anything special, then you may be less likely to get caught off guard, and you may be less likely to get in fights. So being humble is the most important advantage anybody can have. Not weak, right? Or not confident, but being humble. Humble is the most important thing, you know.
Humble doesn't translate very well for comic books, though.
No.
No.
How do you draw that, right?
Definitely.
What you need is a really, really bright costume, perhaps a
Yeah.
bandana, and just to walk the streets like you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
People think I'm looking for trouble and I dress dark.
No. Bright colours so people can see you coming.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Reflective color?
Yeah, something really bright, like green.
Yeah.
Green and yellow. Iron Fist has it right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe that's how that works over there. It don't work like that over here.
I just thought Iron Fist like wore those colors because he was a Green Bay's Packer fan or something.
What?
Yeah.
He's the only character in comics that wears it.
You look like you like Tom Brady. Take it back.
Oh, then be fighting words, man. Tom Brady.
I still remember, what was that? There's some guy was talking about the Ford versus Chevy debate, and he says, "Yeah, it all
That's not a
sums up."
debate.
But what?
That's not a debate. Ford wins every time.
Yeah, but he was saying like the Ford guy comes up to the Chevy guy and is like, "You know what? Chevy sucks." And the other guy's like, "Oh yeah," and then it just says they fight. That's it. They fight. And they just like, it's like what's the winner of that? There is no winner. It's just an excuse to fight. So, what do you guys for martial arts? Do you guys like martial arts comics that use superpowers mixed in with them? I actually like those, but stuff like Dragon Ball Z and stuff where it's actually like, I don't know, that stuff always kind of adds. I don't know. I'm asking maybe more Curtis this, and I'm assuming he would be a yes if he just showed a Vegeta.
What? I'm sorry. You were saying Dragon Ball or
like what? Like, do you like martial arts that include superpowers in like addition to the martial arts? That if they learn a martial arts, they can throw a fireball or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like that
like
type of stuff? Yeah,
I like it. You know, I mean, it's a different thing. You know, it's a different genre. It's kind of like they call the wuxia genre, which is like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of stuff. You know?
Yeah, where they can float and stuff through the air.
Running across the tops of trees.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And some of that stuff has basis in reality, right? What it was realized is when you see all the stuff with them running on the walls, that was essentially like free running. I mean, they couldn't run along a huge wall, but you could, you could run, a couple steps on the wall,
Yeah, they were parkouring.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that sounds like parkour.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually a technique called they call it in Chinese Hing Gong, which is lightness skill, which kind of is attributed to being able to like jump on walls and have that kind of high height. And what they do is, and there's footage of them doing, they get a huge basket and they fill it with rocks, and you walk around the edge of the basket, and each day you pull a rock out until there's no more rocks, and then you have this lightness, this ability to be have lightness in how you stab. So
wow,
yeah, I love that stuff.
That's pretty cool. Can you do that?
Hell no. I got less important things to do with my time.
I know.
I like the story about how your teacher made you take Tai Chi.
Yeah. My Tai Chi is actually, whether you may laugh, but Tai Chi is actually a very destructive martial art in its original form. It's only nowadays that it's become a health practice. But Tai Chi actually means grand ultimate fist. And it's how somebody defeats somebody else. Barb, do you mind if I jump on for a little bit?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
Surprise.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm gonna jump on.
Yeah, there's a couple of Tommy says Pete's one-liners are funny as heck. Ha. Tommy, if you like Pete's one-liners this week, I hope you didn't miss last week when we decided that his superpower was to dig holes and
holes.
or to create a hole.
Yeah, don't dig.
Yeah.
No.
Create a hole and force you to get in it.
Yeah, get in the hole.
Awesome power.
Yeah, it is an awesome power. Kasisi says Storm Riders, Zoo Warriors, Dragon Tiger Gate is another.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Cameron Christopher Payne said Shadow's Footlight as a shadow.
Oh, what was the shadow?
Shadow's Footlight.
Well, there's something called the no shadow kick, right? Or the Cantonese call it mo yin gyerk, the kick that is so fast that it does not cast a shadow.
Oh.
And when you see it in the movie series, it was a real kick. The guy like levitates in the air and does this rapid fire kick. Right?
Oh yeah.
And so I studied the style that this famous practitioner did, and I asked my teacher. I said, okay, when do I get to learn the no shadow kick? And what it was is it's actually a way of disguising your kick. If I can cover your eyes while I kick, right? That's a no shadow kick because there's no telltale sign. So it's So that's the idea, right? Is anything could be a no shadow because a no shadow is imperceptible.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
CC says LOL. Yeah. Okay. So CC also says Iron Monkey. I think they had that kick in the movie, the Donnie Yen version.
Yeah, Iron Monkey is about Wong Fei Hong, who's a very famous kung fu practitioner, and it's about his early life story. And yeah, Donnie Yen's in it, and they have the no shadow kick in it. So it's a fun movie if you haven't checked it out. Yeah, great. Yeah.
All right. So what else about our clock is slowly running out on us here. What else about martial arts comics? Have I not said?
Awesome.
You guys have just been dying to say. Awesome.
They're awesome.
Well, if I could I brought some materials to share with the class if I
Please
can.
do.
All right. So this is a crazy one. It's based off of, most of you know, it's called Fist of the North Star.
Oh yeah.
Fist of the Blue Sky. This is a prequel series, and for those of you that are not familiar with this series, it's the original one is basically Mad Max with martial arts and exploding organs and heads.
Right.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. The idea is the guy can hit somebody in a pressure point and then their head explodes.
You can do that, right, Curtis?
Oh no. I can give somebody indigestion. That's probably the best.
You're going to be on the toilet all weekend.
Exactly.
You got and when it goes to that, you gotta be careful in teaching people stuff, because I taught my daughter something and she ended, or we taught our daughter something when she was in school, and she did it and she made the person throw up in class.
Oh no.
Oops.
Yeah.
The other one I pulled out is, everybody knows about manga, but Chinese have their version of manga called manhua, and they did a Street Fighter Chinese comic book series based on the Street Fighter.
Oh, that's
Street Fighter video game. Yeah, and it's really cool because it's kind of like anime, but it has a very different kind of feel to it, with the line weight and things like that.
Do you ever read the Udon Street Fighter comics?
Yeah, those are pretty cool too.
Yeah, I like those a lot.
Cool too. Yeah, and this one's the classic kung fu comic book from Hong Kong called the Blood Sword Saga. This one.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, now you're holding
really
that
cool.
like a wall calendar.
Yeah,
That's the way it is.
The book's actually this way. The fun thing about the Chinese kung fu comic books is they'll do interesting stuff, like they'll start out with like pen and ink, and then one of the frames will be like a full watercolor image.
Oh.
That's cool.
David Mack and those guys. Yeah, so those are some of my materials, I'm sure. But
Very cool.
I think the only ones, besides Ninja Turtles, I like Usagi Yojimbo, which I guess is that martial arts. I guess I'm not sure. And then I like the Street Fighter comics. Those are fun. I don't know if that's martial arts. It's more like superhero fighting, I think, with some martial arts. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think it was meant to be martial arts, right?
I think it was, but when they're throwing fireballs and stuff, it's fun. I don't know much about. I don't study martial arts, but I don't think it's super realistic. I think it's more Street Fighter martial arts than actual martial arts. That's what I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
definitely. Yeah, I think sometimes, it's that fine line, right? There's martial arts, but then you have to entertain the reader, right?
right. I mean, what's
if there's-
entertaining about martial arts is all the like the flowery or the intense poses or stuff like that nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
So do you think that because martial arts movies are very popular? Do you think comics, martial arts and comics can compete with that, or do you think there's completely two different? They are two different beasts, but do you think that there's not a lot of room for crossover in the audiences?
Well, I think totally this crossover. I mean, here's the thing with martial arts, right? If you look at any Marvel movie, they're doing martial arts. I mean, it's like Captain America is literally doing martial arts moves. It's just that he's Captain America that we kind of suspend disbelief. But
and he favors the front kick.
Yeah. Big time.
Well, isn't there a
But yeah.
Shang-Chi movie coming?
Yeah, supposedly.
If that's not
Yeah, they just
heavily martial arts, they've missed a trick there, haven't they?
You're right.
The
No, you're
Blade-
right.
the
You're
Blade
absolutely
movies were
right.
Heavily martial arts.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. I usually tend to enjoy the martial arts movies more overseas than the American one. And I think it's just because of energy. I mean, Jackie Chan has. I mean, the guy's just like a ball of energy. I mean, his movies are more. I mean, it's martial arts, but it's mixed between martial arts and stunt work too. It's a lot of his movies. So, but yeah, there's just.
I liked Ip Man quite a bit.
Yeah, the Ip Man series is great.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite is always the Once Upon a Time in China series, which is on
Yeah, I know you like
Amazon
that
Prime
one.
now. Oh, that one is just the cinematography. It's the guy who did it, Choi Hawk. He went ahead and he took this film franchise that was like Bond almost. I mean, he had like over 180 films about this one person, and then he went and trained in film in Texas, of all places, and then went back to Hong Kong. So he has this very almost Steven Spielberg like American sensibility to how he films it, So that's a great series.
I like the one I liked was the one from Indonesia. I can't think of the name. It was the first one with the SWAT team gets trapped in the building. They're trying to get out. What is the name of that series?
Oh, The Raid, right? Is that The Raid?
The Raid, yeah. The Raids are fun,
yeah.
but again, that's a mix between stunt work and martial arts. I mean, they're
Yeah.
stuntmen, which I think kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, I think a lot of martial arts, besides the fighting, is a lot of like doing extreme moves or extreme stunts mixed in, which I think is more like how far can they push it. But yeah. So, but yeah, I like those movies a lot.
Another great martial arts movie. What's his name? Oh, crap, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah,
But it's Muay Thai. It's Muay Thai.
Oh, Ong-bak or
yeah, Ong-bak.
Yeah.
I think that's the same guy in The Raid, isn't it? Isn't that the
It's
same
different
star?
guy, Tony Jaa.
Tony Jaa. Okay,
Jaa.
yeah. I couldn't remember
Jaa.
if it was the same guy or not. Yeah.
Actually, I got to interview one of the stars of Ip Man 4, Scott Adkins, who does a lot of martial arts films, and really, really interesting guy. Talking to him about all that stuff, and he's in his 40s now, which isn't that old, but he's getting older, and it's just fascinating to hear about how hard it is as you get older to maintain that kind of stuff for the screen. Impressive.
The funny thing is, you hear Michael Jai White talking about the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like he doesn't age.
Well, I guess if we could all be Michael Jai White, right?
I guess because I think he can still not hit a heavy bag and break the chains.
Yeah. Well, one of the stories about like a fight that I had a friend that worked in a bar, and he was talking about this one old Greek guy that used to come in. This is a really good martial artist. The guy would play pool, and one day some college frat guys came in and they wanted to kick him off the pool table. And this old timer said, give me a minute, I'll be done. And they got in his face and called him, hey, you old man, and all this stuff. And he looked at them and he had a cigar in his hand. He goes, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to get out of my face. And he goes, 1, 2. He takes a puff of his cigar and blows it in their face. And while they're distracted, he took the cigar and put it in their ear. Put it inside the guy's ear. And then took the pool stick and beat the hell out of the guy.
I've seen that before. It's something similar.
Yeah. And then the other one is my friend's master did the funniest thing. Some guy came into the Kung Fu studio in Chinatown and basically was saying, hey, I won't say the word they use. He says, I want to fight the Chinaman, but we know what word he was using. Said, hey, there's a Chinaman here who thinks he's tough. And he said, He said, "Where's the master?" So the master stood up and surprised the students and said to the guy, he said, "Master's out of town, but I'm his student. Maybe I can help you." And he beat the hell out of the guy, picked him up by the belt and the collar and threw him out the door, and then sat down and started puffing a cigarette. And the students said to him, they said, "Master, I mean, why didn't you admit that it was you?" And he took a drag of the cigarette and he goes, "If he thinks the student is this good, imagine how good he's going to think the master is." That's good martial arts. That's like really good martial arts.
Yeah. That's right.
Humble.
Hey, Kurtis, what do you think of Bruce Lee's little sound he always made?
He was the only one that does that, but he is so prolific that's become, synonymous with martial arts. I mean, every time I do martial arts, I hear the sound of like a cat being castrated coming out of somebody's voice, and it's like,
So, that's exactly what it sounds like. Yeah, we always went, "Hi, hi," like that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, with anything, including martial arts, you're never as cool as you think you are. I had a friend who was doing Tai Chi in the park, right? And it was looking beautiful, and he was doing all the motions. And this father and daughter walked over, and they were looking at him. And he told me, "Kurtis, I felt so cool when I was doing the maneuver." And the little girl said, "Daddy, what is he doing?" And the father said, "Pay no attention to him, honey. He's a mime."
He's a mime.
That just makes you want to grab your stuff. Go home.
Yeah. That's
It's a
the
mime.
way life is, the moment you think you're cool.
All right, well, it's 11:01 here. We probably ought to call it a night. It's been a fun one. For those of you who are still with us, next week it's going to be something very different. So tune in next week as we're going to. All I'm going to let you know is that we're going to do some dramatic. I don't know what to call it yet. I'll think of something before then. But dramatic theater reading.
Voice acting.
Some kind of dramatic
Making
reading.
fools of yourself.
Yeah. So
I don't need help doing that.
So and we're gonna have some fun. I'll try to set you guys up a little bit before so you don't come in completely unprepared on Sunday, but we're gonna have some fun with it. It's gonna be something that something different, something we've never done before, and if we can get this to work, I've got ideas for some good listener interaction for us down the road. But yeah, so Wednesday Wham will be doing that this coming Wednesday as well. So if you guys tune into them, you're gonna see how they handle the first go round, and then we'll do it on Sunday as well. So thank you all for tuning in with us tonight. Cassisi says, "Have a good night, all." Cameron Christopher Payne says, love hanging with you all. Thank you. Well, thank you guys for hanging with us, and for the rest of you, if you're watching it on the replay, on the tape delay, whatever, appreciate you tuning in. As we call it a night, thanks to everyone who backed the Silverline double feature, Team Beetle and Switchblade. We're gonna get busy to work for the next couple of weeks prepping it so that we can get it to the printer and get it fulfilled to you. I have a gentleman's bet with our friend Martin Piero over at Cosmic Times as to who can fulfill first. So Martin thinks he's going to get it done, and I tell him, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a Silverline. So it's a gentleman's bet between the two. Basically, if you're like wondering, "Oh, Roland, you don't bet," you're right. I'm not a betting guy. But basically, we said the next time we do a show, the loser has to buy the burger after the show is over. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's go around the murderers row here and tell everybody where they can find you online. Barb, what about you? Where can folks find you?
Barbara Kaelberg, KAALBERG. You can find me under that name on Twitter, DeviantArt, Instagram, and Facebook.
Excellent. Kurtis, what about you? Where are you on the interwebs?
Sure. Find me on Facebook, Kurtis Fujita, You can find my upcoming comic book on Facebook, Shadow Ghost Comic, Shadow Ghost Comic, one word, on Instagram, and then through my Kung Fu School, Tiger Crane 805 on Instagram and YouTube, and Tiger Crane Kung Fu on Facebook.
Now, are you still making videos? I haven't seen a video from you in a while, so
yeah,
I don't know if it's just algorithms or.
Oh yeah, no, I'm actually what I am doing is I'm teaching online courses right now. So,
okay.
So because of COVID, and so I have students all over. I have students in Texas and all over the place. So if you're interested in learning martial arts from the safety of your home, let me know.
Even from the UK, dare I say?
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I'm a master in the UK, so sorry, not world master, world champion. World champion. You must not be invited to that one, Curtis. Sorry.
John, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Everywhere and nowhere, all at the same time. But Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. You can find either Artistic Viking or the Viking Prince Voltan with my name attached to it one way or the other. It's how you find me. Also, just a couple things. Tomorrow night, I will be doing another hangout, sketch and hang with another artist. It'd be Kelly Williams,
nice.
who's done a lot of work for several different indie companies. He's even worked on, I think, an Undertaker book too from WWE. Yes, and I do have a commission list that's open. So if anybody's looking for something, hit me up.
Sounds good. Quentin J. Bedwell says, "Thanks again, guys, for another good show." Thank you, Quentin, for hanging out with us. Pete, how about? Go ahead, Curtis.
Oh no, I said thanks.
Oh, Pete, how about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
Peter Clinton Art, and that's Google, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just type it into Google, it all comes up. Yeah, nice and simple.
Pete, I got to ask you, do you have the domain Just a Penciler?
Oh, I haven't done that. I should do that.
You should do that. You really should do that. Yeah. JustApenciler.com.
Or IJustMakeHoles.com.
IJustMakeHoles.com.
Need someone in a hole? Call me.
As the FBI shows up, I don't know, as MI5, right? Over there. They show up. What's this about putting people in holes? Aaron, what about you?
Motivate them to get out of the hole.
That's right.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at ALH3810. Facebook, my name, Aaron Humphres. Humphres illustration, last name, combined illustration. My Gollings is on Webtoons. So I just got done finishing up issue 9, and I am 7 pages from finishing issue 10. So I hope to have that done in a week or 2.
Cool. And I've been holding on to this one, Aaron. You know what I tell my students that comic books without words are like?
Uh-oh.
Any guesses? I tell them they're like picture books. And I gave up picture books when I was 4 years old.
Oh, see, I never gave up picture books.
because I learned to read the words. So
yeah,
I'm just ribbing you, Aaron. You know.
No, I know, that's fine. Oh no, I don't mind. No, go ahead. I mean, if you just like to read those grown-up books and don't like to read picture books, I mean, either my books are more pretty. They have colors. What are yours? Are black and white. I mean, black and white, like the way you used to watch television, right, Roland?
I do. Oh,
that was good. That was good.
Mom, Dad, stop fighting, please.
I used to watch in black and white.
Okay, so where's the mute button for Aaron here?
How do you kick him off again?
Yeah. Wubba, what about you? Where can people find you online?
I now have a Buy Me Coffee account now, so it's buymeacoffee.com/Wubba. And I have a commission list open.
Excellent. be sure to make sure you send that to me so I can add that to the list of stuff I put here in the description and stuff.
Will do.
Excellent. And I am Roland Man. You can find me on all the places, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks. I think on Twitter I am Man Roland. Everywhere else is just Roland Man. And I have a caricature that looks an awful lot like my face, so you can't miss it. And of course, in all the places you can find Silverline. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, favor, checkmark, follow, all the things you can do on all the different places. And please share around. We're going to start, we've been working on, today we worked on an idea. We're going to get us February is going to be full of some growth campaigns. We're going to try to grow all of the social medias and get more followers. So we're going to be calling on all of you to help us grow the numbers. So you can look for that in February. Anything else, guys, before we call it a night?
Nope.
No, yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, remember to
Make mine
Silverline.
Silverline.
Line.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.